Zambia Blog Talk Radio.
Ready to take your nursing career to the next level? At Global Nurse Pathways, we're here to make your dream of working in the U.S. healthcare system a reality. From expert NCLEX exam preparations to personalized consulting and relocation support, led by the incredible Dr. Alice Nalondo, who holds a Doctor of Nursing Practice and is certified as a family nurse practitioner and a psychiatric mental health nurse practitioner. Our team delivers top-notch training to help you answer the NCLEX exam. Once you pass your NCLEX exam, we will connect you with the US-based recruiting agencies, setting you on the path to an amazing career in healthcare. Ready to get started? We're just a call or a message away. Call or WhatsApp us now at +1 346 328 1110 for the US or +260 961 875 081 for Zambia or email info@embbehavioral.com. Let's make your dreams come true together. Global Nurse Pathways, transforming careers, changing lives.
Hello, Zambia Blog Talk Radio. My name is Muhambi Musanda, and I want to share with you some exciting news that is happening on Saturday, May 24th, 2025. On that date, we are going to be premiering Conversations with Muhambi here on Zambia Blog Talk Radio. We're going to be talking to fellow leaders who are making an impact, specifically young leaders who are making an impact in Zambia. I hope that you will support this new endeavor and that you will invite those who you think are our youth leaders in Zambia and outside Zambia to be featured on this new show, this new project. I'm grateful for you, and I'm looking forward to being in conversation with you in 2 weeks.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the show. It is Saturday, May 17th, and we are excited that you decided to join us today and to be with us on the show. This is it, BTR TV. Do follow us on social media, Facebook and YouTube and X. We are there so that you do not miss a single show that comes every weekend on Saturday. All right, today we have an exciting discussion for you. I have one of our political leaders in the community in Zambia, and this lady has created a political storm. So we are here to have a conversation with Miss. I will introduce my guest right here as we get on to the conversation. My guest is Miss Saboi Imboela. She's the president of National Democratic Congress Party. She's also a founding member of the United Kwacha Alliance, popularly known as UKA, which also makes her a member of the Council of President of UKA, and she's here joining us today. Ms. Saboi, welcome, and belated Mother's Day to you.
Thank you so much. I'm very happy to hear that, and thanks for the nice Mother's Day messages. We're getting them for the whole month, actually.
Oh, yeah, we'll keep sending them. The celebration doesn't end, and I trust you are doing okay. I know you've been very busy. Like I said to you, and I've already mentioned here, you've created a political storm in the nation. And here, let me begin this by saying this, and I want you to respond to this. You've been labeled many things: attention seeker. you are divisive, you are creating confusion instead of uniting people, and you are a UPND operative. How do you respond to that?
Well, that's the nature of politics. Politics, people come up with whatever it is they want to say, especially your opponents. They'll come up with whatever it is they want to say to create a certain narrative for you, so that the people think in that or that way. Sometimes we just do things because it's the right thing to do. You get the point. When something is right, there's nobody who can stop that right thing from happening. When they talk about being divisive, for example, they don't realize that I've been a part of some of the most uniting things that this country has ever seen. They don't realize that, not only now. I remember in the time when the UPND was in opposition. Okay.
Yes.
When it came to be that we should go into an alliance with the UPND, a lot of people by that time, as NDC, they didn't like the UPND. They were like, the UPND is like this and like that, and if they come here, they're going to steal our members. They're going to make sure that they step on us. People didn't want that. In those meetings, by the way, some of those people now that were even denying are even UPND right now, but in those meetings where people said,
so there was a time when NDC and UPND were in the same alliance, right?
Yes, exactly. That is before 2021, we were in alliance with the UPND for 3 years.
Oh, wow.
Our alliance broke in 2021 itself, because at that time, the UPND, when it was very clear that we have done our work and we are pushing the PF out, the UPND became quite selfish. I think these are some of these things have been explained to the media before, including the alliance name, including standing, because at that time, all of us should have stood on our own political parties, but they wanted everybody to stand on UPND and everything. So it created a lot of things, really. And also in terms of the alliance, President HS should have been the president. Then it was agreed that our former president by then, Dr. Kambwiri, should have been the running mate. So later on, they were like, no, we want the president HS, both president and flag bearer should come from the UPND instead of respecting the alliance. So to cut the long story short, and I'm sure the people have heard some of these explanations before, we ended up dividing, and so to bring you back to the issue of coming together, that alliance, us uniting with the UPND, trust me, if there were no people like me in those central committee meetings, we would not have united, because a lot of people at that time were like, no, we know the UPND, we don't want to unite with them. So for me, who was a former UPND person, because normally when you come from a political party, you're normally the person who even has more issues than anybody else, because you're from there. You left because of certain things. You get the point. But for me, I looked at the issue of what is good for the Zambians. Okay.
Yes.
Instead of me saying, no, I don't want to be part of the UPND, I said, what is good for the Zambians? And trust me, I was one of the people that pushed to ensure that we united with the UPND. That decision made us lose critical people like our former Secretary General, Mr. Mwenyam Senge, and others. You get the point? Because normally, getting into an alliance or leaving, you actually lose some members as a political. Some people feel strongly about the decision to work with others or not to work with others, So to cut a long story short, just the alliance of NDC and UPND, I was one of those people that really stood and fought that we get into an alliance. So that's how uniting I've been. If you look at UKA itself, that's the reason why I'm one of the founding members. I have been one of the people that said, you know what, let's come together, Right now, I'm sure I've seen that opposition political parties are meeting, okay?
Yes, I've seen that. A lot of meetings going on.
Exactly. If you look at those meetings, if I tell you the genesis of those meetings, the person that was actually the architect of those meetings is actually Sean Tembo. You don't even see him in those meetings, but he's the one that said, you know what, let's unite. So they called for the first press conference that you saw, where there was Uka, Tonse, SP, the Zambia We Want, UNIP, Economic Forum, and others, So when he called for that meeting, and I remember that time he called President Harry Kalaba to say, we need to have a joint press conference. And then President Harry Kalaba was like, no, I'm not the chairperson of VUCA. Can you call the chairman? Of course, they had really argued before so much with the chairman. So he was uncomfortable calling him. But President Kalaba was like, you know what? Call the chairman. So Sean ended up calling the chairman. Yeah, so he swallowed his pride. He swallowed his pride and he called Mr. Sagiwa Scotta. And when Mr. Sagaswata now came to UKA to say, let's go for the, or rather, should we go for the joint press conference?
Okay.
And trust me.
Are you talking about this press conference that addressed the concerns of the Constitution?
Yes, yeah, yes. Though that one was the second one, but by the same group, yes. The first one, I think we dealt with the Zamstats issues.
Oh, yes, I remember that.
Yeah,
I remember that. Yes.
The first one was the Zamstats issues, yes. So that joint press conference, trust me, UKA was very split, you know, and our friends felt very strongly. So, you know what? When these guys who went to form Tonse left, they created a lot of lies against us. And I'll tell you the exact words that the exact words and concerns that UKA had. So a lot of lies were created against us, and we have never sat down to talk about what they said so that we reconcile. So how can they just come now and say, let's have a press conference together? And a good number of UKA members refused, and we had to vote on that. And
really?
I'm one person that was really tainted by these lies. Are you getting the point? I was really tainted. And trust me, we were split almost in half. So just my vote alone could have even either go this side or go that side. And it's even one of the words I was using to convince my colleagues. I was like, you know what, when these guys split from UKA, I think I was the most tainted. I know the really tainted people like Harry Kalaba, Silavwe, and myself, the three of us, but me, I was the worst tainted. So I started convincing my friends.
Why were you the most tainted? What was said about you?
First of all, I mean, there's some things you said. They said we were UPND. I get
UPND operative. That's the word.
Exactly. Those are the words that we were UPND operative. So, and I remember those were the arguments that UKA had to say. They said we were UPND. So why are they coming back now to come and have a press conference with the UPND? So have we stopped being UPND? Are you getting the point?
Yes,
so I said, no, what they said was too damaging. You know, what they said was too damaging. So we can't have a press conference together unless we address these issues.
So and were the issues addressed? Yet again, what happened? Were the issues addressed?
No, it wasn't. Yet again, so I show you how uniting I am. Yet again, I say that I was the most tainted by those rumors. I was the most accused. So it's okay. So I told them to say, let's just have the press conference and we'll do with these issues later on. We shall deal with them later on. For now, the Zambians need to see us. The Zambians want to see a united front. The Zambians want to see this. So yet again, there I was fighting hard. Despite everything that was said against me from our Tonse colleagues, I just said, you know what? This is bigger than all of us. Let Zambians see that the opposition can work together. We can leave our differences behind and say, you know what, let's just come. And that's how that press conference, the first one, happened.
Okay.
You know?
Okay. That's
good.
Exactly.
So trust me, for me, if I was like divisive, and then if I looked at myself more than the country and anybody, trust me, there are certain things that have happened in this country that do not even have happened because I could have been on the other side and my vote could have gone towards not having that thing other than having
that thing. Yeah, it's true. It's important to address that. Okay, our theme today is inside the UKA Council of Presidents. Okay, I want us to get to the bottom of some things that have happened that you have said. Now, before I want us to listen to this, and then I'll ask the question that I want to ask.
When we sat down to come up with an alliance, he was nowhere there. He was not part of us. He was just invited to come to the alliance. Even if the person that brought him over to the alliance was President Lungu, otherwise he was not even in the picture to be part of the alliance, because the whole country, I think the man only has got 4 members. We made him as chair of the alliance. Being chairperson of the alliance and being a flag bearer are 2 different things. The problem with him is that he became too ambitious. What he wanted was to be the flag bearer, to be chosen as the president of UKA to lead us into the elections next year. Now, this is a person that has failed to mobilize his own party. He has failed to have structures. He has failed to have members. And how can he think that the Zambians are going to vote for him?
Okay. My question after playing that is, who attended the first meeting when UKA was being formed? Because you've mentioned in that clip that Mr. Sikwiba Sikota was invited by ECL. So who were the people that were at the first meeting when UKA was formed?
I'll start by this. The first meeting that we had a meeting right here at my house, by the way. We had a meeting with President Kateka, President Silavwe, and myself. The three of us met, and we were like, you know what, let's have an alliance, okay?
Just
let's
three.
Come up with it. Yeah, by the way, I'm answering. I'm telling you the history of how things started.
Yes,
of course, others could have been meeting. You get the point. Mr. Sakwa Squatter, President Nawakwe, the late President Nawakwe, President Lunga, always very close. You get the point. So maybe they were talking amongst themselves, but I'm telling you the genesis of what I know in terms of our alliance, the way we started moving. Okay, so we had the three of us, myself, President Kateka, and President Silav. We said, let's have an alliance. Okay, and we were like, and by that time, we were very quite courageous and ambitious, and we were like, we don't want to have anything to do with the PF. Because if we bring the PF on board, people are going to call us the PF surrogates. They're going to think that this is just a PF front and whatever it is, and it's not us, but PF trying to affront us. You get the point. So I said, anything to do with the PF, we don't want that. And so the three of us were meeting to discuss that. Let's have an alliance. Just the three of us. Okay. Then on the side already, President Kalaba started calling me, say, let's have an alliance. The two of us, like I'm talking about Citizens First and NDC.
Yeah, and NDC. Yeah.
And yes, so we're discussing again on the side. And then I told him to say, you know what, even the other week I met with President Kateka and President Kalaba. They actually want us to have an alliance. So an alliance is about the many, the merrier, the more the merrier, So why can't we have a meeting like the four of us? Are you getting the point?
Yes.
So that was the situation I told him about the meeting with the other two colleagues, and even the other two colleagues. Oh, by the way, in fact, I even started meeting with President Kalaba even before the other two colleagues. So I went to them also and I told them, so I've been meeting with the President Kalaba and now he has said A, B, C, D. Is it okay if instead of being the three of us, let's be the four of us? So we started discussing like that, okay? The funny thing also is that if you look at those times we go to President Lungu's house when he would invite us and then we're jogging and everything, he would invite us to his house and there would be meetings. For example, I'd have meetings, just the two of us, me and him, okay? When NDC goes there, yeah, everybody would meet like the whole party, like the party members would go with, and we'd have two meetings, the two of us. And among those things, of course, he would tell us to say, you know what, we need an alliance. By August next year, let's formalize an alliance, okay? So I was in those meetings with President Lungu, we were talking, and I know that he was meeting other people also, telling them that he really played.
So he was also pushing for an alliance thing.
Yes, okay. He was. Yes, he was. So the meetings I had with him, those are amongst the things we're discussing. So you know what? Right now, I think the opposition needs to come together. We need to have an alliance, okay? And that's what was going on at that time. So everybody in their own corners knew to say, somehow we need to work together, okay?
Yes.
And then as we started now talking and everything, like especially me, President Kalaba, President Kateka and Silavwe, had our own meetings. Then we said, let's call our colleagues. And we did call some of our colleagues. And we had the first joint press conference at the Southern Sun, if you remember it. Yes. I think Kasonde Mwenda was there, if I remember correctly. Sean Tembo was there. We were about 7 or 8 political parties, okay? We started having joint presses. And I remember when we put the post, I remember getting a call from President Given Lubinda and was like, why have you left us? And I explained to him, I was like, it has got nothing to do with us not wanting to work with the PF. We just don't want the Zambians to think that it's you people behind it. Yes, because right now in the country, in terms of politics, everything is about PF and UPND, PF and UPND, and we don't want to be part of that. Yes.
How did what's his name respond to that when you told him you don't want anything to what's his name, the one you mentioned?
Honorable Given Lubinda.
Yes. How did Mr. Lubinda said when you told him that?
Of course, he didn't take it well. I was like, no, but no, we need to work together and everything. And then I was like, no, for now, we can't. Maybe the next pressers, but for now we can't because we don't want people to label as PF surrogates. Okay, and then said, okay,
at this stage, Mr. Sakwiba Skota is not in the picture.
He's not in the picture at all.
Okay,
we didn't even think about him. Okay.
I just want us to make that clear.
Yes, exactly. By then was not there in the picture. There were people, for example, the PF, who we knew to say these are big, they're a factor. You know what I mean? You're even thinking about them, but you're just not adding them because you don't want just a certain narrative to be created by the public. You get the point. Okay. But people like Mr. Sakwiba Skota, no one even mentioned to say Sakwiba Skota. Nobody even thought about him. There are others, of course, who didn't mention, maybe afterwards you can call this one, call that one. But for him, by then, nothing was being discussed.
All right.
So, Mr. Given Lubinda, in that conversation we had, I think we spoke for about 40 minutes. That was like at about 21, 22 hours. And then he asked me to say, okay, fine, but is it okay if some of our members come through tomorrow? Then I said, yeah, let them come, And for real, they came to that press conference. That was, like I said, the first press conference we had as opposition, political parties. It happened at the Southern Sun. And by then also it was very shocking. But that's what the Zambians have always wanted. They were telling us, unite, unite, unite. So when we had that first joint press conference, trust me, the Zambians were very happy. And the PF, I think, were represented by, must have been Mr. Lifwekelo and two others who came for their press conference, like I said. Then after that, of course, we sat again. And I remember, for me, the two people that I sat with first were President Kateka and President Silavoyet again. And I was like, you know what? I think that thing of saying the PF should not be part of that, I think part of us, where we are going, we need everybody. Yes. We need to talk to the PF. I think we need to bring them on board. I was the first person, and I just got convicted myself to say, we need the PF. Whether we like it or not, we need the PF. Nobody talked to me. I got convinced myself, and I went to President Kateka, I went to President Silavoyet. We need to do this. I went again to President Harry Kadaba. We need to get the PF on board. And everybody accepted. Like, you know what? I think you're right. Where we are going, everybody is needed on board. And that's how, after that, we started working with the PF, okay? And like I said, during that time, the person that was representing the PF was the acting president of the PF at that time, who was Mr. Given Lubinda, and would have those joint press conferences. And by the way, remember I said that there are some people that we called and thought about, but we didn't think about Mr. Sakiva Squatter. Yes. We thought of President Haivi Hamdudu, President Membe even also by that time. And these are the only two opposition leaders who had declined. The first press conference, they are the only two who declined. Both of them said, let's have our own press conferences as political parties. Then we shall come later on to have a joint one. So all of us disagreed. We're like, no, but we've been having our own press conferences as opposition, and there's not that much impact. You can have all of your own press conferences, but once we have a joint one, there's a message that it sends to the Zambians. The unity message is more than even the message that you are portraying or giving to the public. So these two are the only ones who didn't come. But I remember after the press conference, the first call I got was from Dr. Membe. And said, you know what, you guys were right. That was really good, okay? He really commended us for that first press conference. And the next ones after that, the SP was part of the press conferences, if you remember that. Yes. So fast forward now to the formal, what is this? The formalization of UKA, if I should call it that. Yes, we started meeting. By then, the number of political parties went to about 13. Okay, went to about 13, and and would meet. There's certain activities. Would write letters, for example, to the embassies. The issue of the AFRICOM, if you remember, we actually went. We had a demonstration at the U.S. Embassy itself. So we started doing all those things. Meeting here, there. You get the point. As all those things were happening on the other side, also the PF at that time. At some point, rather, the President Lungu came back into active politics. By then, those press conferences were already happening, and we used to call ourselves the informal opposition. The informal alliance. So by the time now we said, okay, now let's form UKA. Okay. The first meeting where we had let's form UKA. So those meetings that we're having, like 13 political parties. President Sakuba Scott and President Nawaki were not there. But the first meeting we had to say, let's form UKA. The people that were present in that meeting, there was now President Harry Kalaba, President Shisharakateka, President Jackson Silavwe, President Lungu, myself, and President Lungu also came with President Nawaki and President Sakuba Scott. Okay. I get in the point because, like I said, he was close to them, and he came with them, and we were very agreeable. And the idea was, you know what, if we have many people, because like I said, at that time we're meeting like 13 political parties. Then we said, if we have so many people at a go, we really won't work. Let's have a few people. Then from the few people now, that's when everybody can come on board. Let's work. Let's do something for everybody else. So at that time, we were now 7 political parties. Okay, 7 political parties. And the idea was, do we get other people now or later? We started discussing that and everything. And of course, the thing was, at first we said let's be a few of us, but there was a lot of pressure from other political parties to bring them on board. Okay, but before I even go that far, we met. There was one big organization that even housed us. They hosted us and said, we're looking at you people to say you're amongst the people right now that we are looking at in terms of political parties and everything, that we think if we came up with something really big will come out of this. Are you getting the point? We had that meeting the following day, and we were discussing to say, do we first of all start writing the documentation, the constitution, the manifesto, everything, then announce, or we announce now? So from that meeting, we said, you know what, let's just announce, which was very scary because all along we always say that we'll have an alliance, but we never said when exactly. And by then, if you remember last year, by the time we announced OCA, that was like in January or February. And even President Lungu's estimation, like I said, the meetings would say, let's have an alliance by August, to get the point. So talking about 5-6 months earlier, if not 8 months, August, that's like 7 months earlier. So like, let's announce now, like, what? We're talking about having an alliance by August. Now this is like January, February.
January. Wow, that was too far. How did you get to the point of choosing the structure as it looks right now, if I may put it that way? Chairperson, vice chair, and the positions that you gave yourselves. At what stage did that happen?
At the stage when it happened, after we had our first meeting, I said, okay, let's have the alliance. And then we're like, what are we going to call it? Okay. Names were floated, this, and that. No, Kwacha. I was like, United Kwacha Alliance, First of all, it was just Kwacha Alliance. We discussed it, and then somebody was like, and I remember the person who even put the United in front was President Nawakwi. She was like, United, Uka. She didn't say it, United, Uka. And I was one of the people who said, that's it,
That's it right there. That's it right there.
Because the time we're just coming up with a name, they were like, we need to call some consultants to do it. And I was one of the people yet again, I said, why call consultants? I was like, I've been one of the people that has been part of... Some of us are artistic. I'm an artist. We don't need that. Yes. Let's sit down right here and come up with a name. And we did that ourselves. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. The Ngoma Awards. Do you know the Ngoma Awards in Zambia, by the way?
I know. Yeah, I do.
Do you know I'm the one that named them?
Oh, really?
Yes. There was a competition to name the Ngoma Awards, and I entered.
And you won that competition.
And I won. They gave me money and recognition for that. The Ngoma Awards. The Kwacha Music Awards, I was part of the people that were sitting.
We shall do another interview where we'll talk about your career as an artist. Now, I want you to look at you to look at this picture. I hope you can be able to see this with let's look at this picture. You see that? Are you able to see that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm able to see it, yes.
You're able to see it. Okay.
Yes, I am.
What happened? What happened to these people?
Well, to be honest with you, I remember President Nawakwi. I'll start with President Nawakwi. The time we were saying, let's remain 7 and call others later. President Nawakwi used to tell us to say, you know what, let's remain few, then have others later. When we bring in many people at a go, we're going to destroy this thing. But the sad part about democracy is that sometimes the right people are found in the minority and the majority wins even if they're wrong. No. We started having a lot of pressure from a good number of these people. Wherever you meet them, no, you people are selfish. You just chose yourselves. What about us? So we fell to the pressure and we said, let's bring everybody on board, okay? And we created what we are calling, of course, we had the Council of Presidents, and we said, let's have an Assembly of Presidents. Because already where we are right now, we have gone so far. We used to meet almost every day. Maybe, let me say in a week, maybe 2-3 times a week, Some meetings, trust me, they would start, let's say, 9-10 hours, and they'll end at 21 hours. We did so much. Yes, that is why even when I see where UCA is right now, it's very, very painful. We put in a lot into that organization. Okay. So we would meet all the time. So we said if we bring in other people now, we're just too far away, in terms of the vision and the mission. So let's have an Assembly of Presidents so that everybody comes in and we move this thing together, But the sad part is that when our friends came in, for example, they started wondering to say, why do we have an Assembly of Presidents and the Council of Presidents? It's more like now you are dividing us. You know, there was that
so
issue
there
to
was
say,
an
no,
assembly of presidents and council
yes,
of presidents.
exactly, yes.
Can
So
you
as the
explain?
founding members, yes. So
Ah.
as the founding members remained as the council of presidents.
Okay.
All these other presidents that were coming in were the assembly
of presidents.
Exactly,
I didn't know
exactly, yes.
that.
Yes, there was a council of presidents and an assembly of presidents.
So did that become an issue? Was that an issue?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
It all became a very, very hot issue because, like I said, for us, we did it as a way of bringing everybody on board, but at the same time, not destroying what it is that we have started, because the people that started were already too far away in terms of meetings and everything, and just the synergy, because we had worked so well and so much together. So you bring in new people, it's more like you're going behind. You get the point. And
yes.
Yeah. And by the way, the only two people that we brought into the Council of Presidents that were not part of the founding members were President Danny Pule and President Sean Tembo. Okay. And I'll be very honest with you again. For me, the divisive person that I am, the fact that we had been meeting with the 13 opposition political parties, I used to feel so touched. Like, you know what? We used to meet 13 of us. And then now we have we have UKA now. People think that we just abandoned them. You know, you imagine we were meeting at 13 political parties. Next, you just hear, boom, there's UKA, 7 political parties. So some of us used to be affected by that, you know. So like, no, but Pule, and let's bring them here. Let's bring them on board. So the only people that we brought at that time, we brought in Danny Pule.
And they eventually left. Why did they leave?
Exactly. And then later on, we brought in Sean Tembo. You see, the issue I talked about also about just being at different places. I remember there was a rally we had in Kitwe because in the Council of Presidents, one of the things we discussed was that in as much as we want certain directions for UKA, we can't go public, you know, because we said we had, for example, we said we had not chosen a flag bearer yet, right? No. So nobody could campaign for another person outside.
Okay.
You know, but we, for example, we had the rally in Quito and Pule went on stage and started saying, yeah, Lungo. You get the point that. So already it's more like you're telling the people, you said you don't have a flag bearer. Why is this person doing this? Yes. You know, at some point, Sean Tembo also started going on TV, radio, saying, flag bearer, we need President Lungo, all those kinds of things. So the council were like, no.
I think that was one of the issues that created even a lot of misgivings from the community or from the people. The very fears that you had at the beginning of bringing PF in looks like it started started showing itself. That certain characters started pushing ECL as the candidate. Is that right?
Yes. Exactly. Sadly so, because for us the idea from the onset was to ensure that we bring a team to the people, okay? Once we bring a team to the people, and then the people should decide on their own. You know, people should decide on their own. And I'm going to say this because at some point people started thinking like some of us were fighting President Lungu. We didn't want him to be the president and everything. We never even reached at that point. The point was always, when do we have elections and how do we have elections? Are you getting the point? Yes. The first meeting we had where we decided
elections.
Yes. Sorry?
About elections.
No. The first meetings we had where we're trying out with the time we decided to form UKA, okay? I talked about people that we were with, you know, like these organizations that are not political but are very interested in governance and everything. The first meeting that we were at, I remember they were saying, any of you people should be the president, but not President Lungu, because President Lungu has been, you know, they said all those things about PF and everything. Yes. So any one of you, but not him. We stood up. You know me, I think I'm always guilty of just speaking my mind out. I think I was one of even the first people to defend President Lungu. I stood up and I said, no, but you can't say that. You can't say any one of us can be president apart from President Lungu.
Except President Lungu.
Anyone. For us, we want to win elections. You get the point? Yeah. And we told him that, and I told him that. I was like, you can't say that. Anybody here can be president if that's a person that the Zambians want. If the Zambians are going to say one President Lungu, it's going to be President Lungu. If we're going to say this one or that one, that's the way we should operate. Okay? So there I was again defending our father to say, let him be if he wants to be. You know, but
That's what
Zambians, when they get lies from wherever, they flood them all over. And anyway, it's part of politics.
that's why you've created a political storm.
Mhm.
So why did Mr. Pule and Mr. Tembo leave?
Well, Mr. Pule and Mr. Tembo, they left because we could not choose a flag bearer. Okay. I remember in the last meeting that we had
What do you
with
mean
them.
you could not choose a flag bearer? You had set a
Yes.
date that you were going to choose a flag bearer at some point.
Yes, that was before. In last year in 2024, we had not yet set the date.
Okay.
We were just saying this is too soon because, like I said, you know, we started UCA very fast without documents. We said let's announce and later on that's when we'll do the documents. You get the point. And the funny thing is that when immediately we announced UCA went viral within 2 days.
Oh yeah,
So
I
the
remember that.
alliance,
It went viral all over
yes,
the
it
world.
became too big. Yes, exactly. Because that's what we're thinking. Okay, let's announce it as people are now getting used to the alliance. Then we do ABCD. But we're shocked. We announced UCA within 2 days. People just ran with it, and then we were behind chasing after it because it was so much ahead of us. You know. So during that time.
I like that. I like that.
Yes, ran away. And during that time, we were trying to do documents and everything. And then after some time now, that's when now the PF came with full force. Choose President Lungu, choose President Lungu. And we're like, where is this coming from? You know? And what they don't even know, these same people saying that we are fighting President Lungu, what they don't even know, President Lungu at that time had even told us that he didn't even want to stand as president. He was telling us to say, let's just identify the right person who can win the elections next year. Let's come together and let the people choose. You know, that was the spirit of UCA. Trust me, that was the spirit of UCA.
That's
so this whole
needed
thing
in Zambia. That's needed in Zambia.
It's needed in Zambia. Yes. When we came out and said we have not chosen anybody, and we're only going to choose when the people say so. This is a people's movement. We were serious about that. The president himself, President Lungu, was serious with that. But the PF, I think, because of being the big party, you know, they just felt like UCA was enjoying all that publicity because of them and everything. And we became victims, you know. They would insult us day in and day out. Day in, day out. And I remember telling them, to say, but why would you support only one person in a team? We are your teammates, you know. And I would tell them to say, we were part of the UPND Alliance prior to 2021. I never saw UPND cadres insulting us, you know. So why are you insulting us? It's like you have gone for a football match and they're only clapping for number 10. You know, imagine it's your whole team. Imagine your whole team is playing. You only clap when number 10 has the ball. When number 6 has the ball, you even boo. You get the point? When the goalkeeper catches the ball, you even boo. How can you win? You know, how can you win the game? You get the point?
You can't win.
Yes, top score. Not we accept that he is our number 10. He's a striker.
Yeah.
But you need me as number 4 to defend.
To defend.
You need the goalkeeper to catch the ball. You can't just clap for one person. As long as you have this attitude to say nobody else matters in UCA apart from ACO, then you're going to lose it. And that's where this whole thing really came from.
Okay, that's all. Okay, let's take a break and allow President Saboi to take a glass of water as we take a break.
I really need it.
Yes, let's take a break and we shall come back.
Hello, Zambia Blog Talk Radio. My name is Muhambi Musonda, and I want to share with you some exciting news that is happening on Saturday, May 24th, 2025. On that date, we are going to be premiering Conversations with Muhambi here on Zambia Blog Talk Radio. We're going to be talking to fellow leaders who are making an impact, specifically young leaders who are making an impact in Zambia. I hope that you will support this new endeavor and that you will invite those who you think are our youth leaders in Zambia and outside Zambia to be featured on this new show, this new project. I'm grateful for you and I'm looking forward to being in conversation with you in 2 weeks.
All right, that show is starting next week, Saturday, actually. It's the one coming up. Muhambi will be having conversations with fellow youth. He's a student, he's a political science student at a college here in Maryland. My discussion today is, the theme is Inside the UCA Council. We're just focusing on things that have been happening inside the UCA Council of Presidents. And our guest today is President Saboi Imboela of NDC, National Democratic Council. All right, Congress, rather. What offenses led to your expulsion?
I also don't know.
How can you not know you were expelled?
I also don't know. Okay. The issue is this. I talked about the PF and other parties like PEP, Christian Congress by Sedani Poulet, Christian Democratic Party, and others leaving because they clearly said in the meeting, Mr. Poulet told us, Apostle Poulet said, Uka, it's your fault that you have created Tonse because you have failed to choose a flag bearer. So because of this, you Uka is the one who has created Tonse. Like, no, but this is not the right time. Okay, so they went and they created Tonse. And like I said, by then we felt also to say it was just not the right time to choose a flag bearer because there's been an eligibility case for President Lungu coming up. So by that time we're saying, it's unfair to have the elections now because if we vote before elections, even a person that may want to vote for President Lungu, for example, they'll say, maybe I should not vote for him. Maybe he won't be found eligible. You get the point?
Yes.
So if I vote for him, maybe my vote will go to West. So maybe I vote for somebody else. So having this vote before then, it's not even fair. Let's have it after so that everybody is eligible for these elections. Yeah, so to cut the long story short, our friends left because they felt strongly that the flag bearer had to be chosen before the eligibility case. But as we're thinking that this year, 2025, we choose a flag bearer. And as we got into 2025 in January, we did announce that we'll have a flag bearer before 31st of March. We made a roadmap. Yes, and we gave ourselves 3 months to say, since we don't have documents as OCA, we're going to put all the documents in place. Let's do the constitution. Let's do the MOU. Let's do the power sharing agreement, all those things. We don't want to be caught unaware.
So let me stop you right there. Let me stop you. So you are telling me that as you and I are speaking right now, UCA doesn't have a constitution. UCA doesn't have what you call it? Like you said, MOU between the political parties, because you need to have an understanding, right?
Exactly.
For you to work together, you need to have an understanding. Okay. Are you telling me UCA doesn't have a constitution?
No, it does not have.
Okay, that's where the Mapenzi is. That's where the Mapenzi are. Okay.
That's where everything starts from. It doesn't have.
But why? If I may ask, you've been fighting to register the alliance with the registrar of I don't know whether it's PACRA or registrar of societies. How are you going to do it without a constitution?
There was a small document, one of those that put in a few words here and there, which we're supposed to use for registration purposes. Okay. Sometimes you can register something for registration purposes.
Yes.
With a good number of things which none of us even agrees with. But we said, okay, let's
remember what the name is called. What apart from constitution? What's the other? I forget the name of that thing. Okay.
Yeah. So there was something that we came out to say for registration purposes. Let's do this, okay? But let's ensure that we have a constitution that all of us are going to accept and go with. For example, if I told you to say ideological wise, what exactly are people leaning towards? Is it free for all? Is it this or that? Things like that. So we didn't really sit to say this is how our constitution should be, but we came up with something for registration purposes. I mean, NDC did the same thing, by the way. The time that was registering, of course, it did come up with something which they used for registration. Then later on, when a good number of us joined, we actually, perfected our constitution. And if you look at the old constitution and now, a lot of things came out because registration purpose and really governance just
I understand an organization can go on and do a constitution as you go along.
Exactly. Yeah, so that's the
Mm.
situation. So we told ourselves to say within those 3 months, at least we're going to work on the constitution. We're going to have what we're calling a joint manifesto. And we did engage all the secretary generals of all the political parties under UCA to say they should get the constitutions of all the political parties and begin to have, rather, all the manifestos and begin to have the joint manifesto.
Manifesto.
We're announcing the flag bearer. The joint manifesto should be ready. The power sharing agreement should be ready. The MOU should be ready. because it's not enough to just say, let's have an alliance and you take out the current party. What do you want to do when you form government, So all those things have to be made clear, for example, in the joint manifesto, and you give to the people to say, this is UKA's plan for you. We want, when we come into government, we do ABCD for you. So those are amongst the things that we're working on to ensure that
and that.
And
I'll tell you this, Ms. Saboi, those are some of the things that the people have been saying to say, all we hear is the HH this, HH that, HH this, HH. We don't get a vision, a roadmap to say this is what we are going to do.
Exactly. Exactly. And it shouldn't be like that. It shouldn't be like that.
No, it shouldn't be like that. It shouldn't be like that.
Yeah. The Zambians deserve better. They need to know what it is that us as politicians are planning to do for them.
Before you received information about your expulsion, you did mention that at your presser, which you called, you mentioned that you met some veteran politicians, senior politicians, senior citizens of Zambia. I don't know if you are at liberty to discuss who these people were and what was the agenda.
No, I won't say, because it's not everything that should be told to the public,
Okay.
And if you look at politicians, there are many people that normally meet us for various reasons.
Exactly.
And they work with the secrecy. You get the point. They come, they advise us. Even when there's a problem at times amongst ourselves, we find that these people call us. They even call you, they say, I've been talking to President Sakiba Squatter, ABCD. After they talk to you, they say, we'll do this. Because at that time, like these two gentlemen, or the men that met me, the issue was that when President Harry Kalaba left the United Kwacha Alliance, I did make a statement. I told the chair and the vice chair to say, you people have failed to run this organization. You need to step down on your own, or we're going to have a vote of no confidence in you. Because you have failed. You've been sabotaging the elections because you knew that you can't win elections in UKA. You have sabotaged these elections. You have frustrated this man out. So for that, you need to step down. So when that happened, the first thing that happened is that President Sakiba Squatter, the following day, he gave me a letter that I owed him 30,000 kwacha legal fees. Okay, he represented me in a court case sometime last year. One of his lawyers came through to court. Okay. And that case, by the way, there were 5 people jointly charged: himself, JJ Banda, Sean Tembo, Thomas Ziambo of the whistleblowers, and who's the fourth? Is it 4 people or 5? I think we should be 5 of us. Yeah. So we were jointly charged, 5 of us. And Sean Tembo even wrote, because Sean Tembo, in all these cases, he likes to defend himself. So he even gave me the defense of what he had written. And I suppose
he didn't need a lawyer. He didn't need a lawyer.
He never needs a lawyer. He defends himself, So he wrote his defense and he gave me, and he's very efficient. He's more efficient than lawyers. He gave me his defense. He gave me his defense, which I should have used. So at that time, Sakiba Squatter offered to represent me and actually gave his lawyer and him the same defense that Sean Tembo wrote for me. The lawyer came through to the court twice, and so he came through twice. I wanted to say that even when coming to court, this is important because of what I'm going to say afterwards. I had to give the lawyer transport, okay? When they were filing in the documents for court, I had to pay the filing in fees. So it became shocking that when I told him to step down from UKA because he had done what he had failed to run the organization, he gave me that bill. We're in May right now, right? This case happened last year. May is almost like we're halfway through this year. I've never known all this time that I owe him money. So I tell him to say, step down from UKA. He gives me number 1 that letter to say, you owe me 30,000 legal fees. And I told him on the UKA group to say, you know what? This to me is tantamount to blackmail. You have never told me about this. If I had owed you money, I could have given you. And also, had you told me that I owe you money, or maybe I had to pay for the legal fees, why was I paying for transfer money for the lawyer to come to court and me paying for the filing in? And that you also told me that I have to pay and how much. Maybe I could have negotiated with you or gone to another person. You can't just come to me now and say, I owe you money. It doesn't work like that, So that was the first thing. Second thing, I think a few days later, I went to go see President Kalaba at his office. When I went to see him with the President Robert Chancellor, the following day, that's the time now he wrote me an exculpation letter. To say, exculpatory letter rather, to say, You went to the, and of all things, they said you went to the media without authority. I never got to the media with authority from the time UKA was created in 2024 last year to now. Not once have I gone to any radio TV station with authority like he claims. So in that letter, he says I went to the media without authority, but of course we all know that he was just uncomfortable with me telling him to step down and also going to see President Kalaba at that time. So when he wrote that,
what did you say to the media? What did you say to the media?
In the media, actually, I just wrote to say UKA leaders visit Kalaba. That's what I said.
Oh, okay.
UKA leaders visit Kalaba. Yes. Then the other things I said in the media, maybe which I was uncomfortable with on another time, on another day, I did explain to the media why UKA was not having elections. Okay, because like I said, from January to about March, we issued about 3 statements. Some of them in my name, some of them in President Silavue's name, where we assured the Zambians that UKA would have a flag bearer by 31st of March. So people are asking, every time on appear TV radio, they ask when. I'll tell them, no, there's still enough time, we'll be giving you the flag bearer. So when 31st of March passed, they asked, why haven't you had the flag bearer?
I was actually eagerly waiting because, President Sakuiva Scotta came on this platform and he told the audience that there will be a flag bearer before 31st March, and it never happened.
Exactly.
So why don't you have a flag bearer? Why don't you have a flag bearer?
Exactly. They know that they were on the wrong side of the explanation, or they didn't want me to explain. When we reached January, we said, okay, now let's prepare for the documentations and everything, even what we're calling the guidelines on how to have elections and everything. So we have elections as soon as possible. President Kateka came up and said, no, we can't have a flag bearer without a bishop. We need a bishop to be in our presence for the elections to be credible. Then I was like, are you telling me only when a bishop is in our midst, that's when the elections will be credible? Yes. Okay, fine. Because some of us were even suggesting there are other organizations, maybe they say SACCOD, these governance organizations.
Yes.
We have SACCOD, we have TIZ, anything. Bring them. We just don't need a bishop to be there. No, we need a bishop. Then she even mentioned there's this bishop that I need to go talk to. She went and talked to that bishop, spoke to the bishop. Then a week before the election, she said, no, the bishop won't be around for the elections. He's going out of town. So we're like, okay. Some of us, first of all, even in the process of having a bishop to have elections, which are going to be called credible, first of all, it doesn't even make sense, but you insisted on that process. So now that bishop that you wanted won't be around, find another one. Because that is what many bishops, for you are saying, for elections to be credible, there has to be a bishop. So find us another bishop. No, she really argued, like, no, find us a bishop. So that's how okay, fine, I'll do that. Then a day before the elections, just a day before the election, we are voting tomorrow. Then she came up and said, my bodyguard, now the sister, now the child has died. So like, oh, they died. Yeah. So the same day of the elections, we are going to have a burial. There'll be a burial there. Then I'm like, okay, fine. It's a funeral, there'll be a burial, but what time are they burying? Because if it's morning, we can have elections in the afternoons. Or if it's in the afternoons, we can have elections the following day. No, I'll let you know. And that's how the elections, now the elections were not even postponed, they were cancelled, okay? Cancelled indefinitely. That's what happened. The elections were cancelled indefinitely. And from that time now, and during that time, by the way, in January itself, almost January, February, by the way, almost at the time we're supposed to have elections. President, who's this? Silav actually called President Robert Chancellor to say, I need your votes, So the sad part is that Robert Chancellor actually sort of maybe should have not been honest. In politics, I think people don't like honesty. He should have lied. But the sad part is that President Robert Chancellor was honest enough. He told President Silav, I don't think right now we need a young person to actually challenge HH. We need somebody who's strong. And then he told him to say, for me, I feel we need to put President Harry Kalaba to be the flag bearer of the alliance. And then President Silav apparently asked him to say, but what about the youth vote? Don't you think we need young people now to stand in these elections? And President Chancellor was like, the youth don't necessarily need a youth to represent them. They need somebody who can defeat this government. As young people, we just want somebody who can come in, defeat the president, the current president, and then later on, we put up things that we put up things that are able to work for the young people. So when they had that conversation, for us, we didn't even know. When they had that conversation, President Silabwe, that same week, he said, I'm going on sabbatical. I won't be around for 2 months. And we should have voted actually the following week. So that was actually the first postponement. So we should have voted the first week. And then when he told us I'm going on sabbatical for 2 weeks, we waited and waited and waited until finally he said, you know what, I think President SJ is not coming. At some point he told us, no, I'm sick. But the UKA Council of Presidents would actually task me and President Sakiwa Squatter to talk to him. We would call him, would not answer us. And I'm sure the Zambians remember that there would be a time when people were asking, where's President Silabwe? Where's President Silabwe? And we'd say, he's around, he's around. We were covering up, okay? The truth of the matter is that we were covering up, but he was actually nowhere to be seen. We tried to call him, talk to him. He just stayed away, you know?
Why do you think he stayed away? Why do you think he stayed away? And is he still away as we speak?
The problem. What?
Is he still away as we speak?
He was away until the death of President Nawakwi. It was, I think, death really hit him badly. At that time, that's when he came back. And also at that time, also some things had shifted in UKA, you know. So, yeah, so the thing is that he really stayed away from those elections, and that he stayed away from UKA during that time. And UKA always want everybody to be around, by the way. So the fact that President Silabwe was not there, we just said, you know what, there's no way we can have these elections. We waited and waited. So when we got tired of waiting, that's when we said, you know what, let's go ahead with the elections, you know. So when we said we're going to go ahead with the elections, that's when now those other things of the bishop came in, from the bishop, then the death, you know. So all those things now are happening that we're not having the elections. Then afterwards now, like I said, that meeting now that where we're having these joint press conferences with Tonse, UKA, SP, you know, the Zambia we want and everything.
Yes.
Later on, President Gateka, chair, I think even President Silabwe also, but by then he had started coming after President Nawaki's death. Then they said, we are having meetings with these other alliances and parties. If we have a flag bearer in UKA, they'll think that we are not interested in opposition unity. Okay. And yet again, some of us, we're shocked. We're like, but how? And then I said, but Tonse, even the time they left, they were not comfortable with us not having a flag bearer. When Tonse left, they immediately chose a flag bearer, and President Lungu is a flag bearer. SP had their convention early this year, yes, and President Membe is a flag bearer for next year. UKA is supposed to have a flag bearer. Because to be honest with you, for me, I believe that even the way that we're now meeting with other opposition political parties and alliances, what we should have done as UKA to strengthen ourselves was to have a flag bearer, right? Tonse produces a flag bearer, SP has a flag bearer, UNIP has a flag bearer, the Zambia event has a flag bearer. The way we are meeting like that, and then we say, amongst these people, who then should be the flag bearer of this joint opposition grouping? That's how you work. But if you're going to say UKA, we can't have a flag bearer, because if we choose a flag bearer, those people think that we're not serious with uniting with them. Then you're not being serious. You know, the truth of the matter is that our colleagues knew that they're not going to win the UKA elections. They knew to say President Harika, and I'm going to be very honest with you, they knew that President Harika was going to win, because in UKA we had remained 6 people, okay? So the 6 people that remained in UKA were President Kateka, President Sakiwa, President Silabwe, President Harikalaba, myself, and President Robert Chansa. And all these 4, apart from President Robert Chansa and myself, were not interested in running for these elections. So therefore, Bakateka, Basapiwa, Silabwe, Kalaba wanted to be the flag bearers. So imagine Silabwe called Chansa to say, vote for me, and he said, no, let's vote for Harikalaba. I think he's strong out of all of us. In terms of the by-elections, he's the one that mobilizes. In terms of the rallies, you know, most times you find that President Harikalaba and the CF, they'd actually put UKA on the map to say UKA is participating in elections and everything. And trust me, there would not even be that support from UKA. The man actually, he even stayed on. I'm even one of the people, yet again, I would always plead with him to say, don't go. Because the harder he worked, the more jealous you could see that people are getting jealous of him. So I was like, what kind of an alliance is this? You're working, you're trying to do this for the sake of everybody else, and then I'm having this kind of backlash amongst my colleagues. I think I should just go. So I was like, no, you don't need to go. Hold on. Even the time was leaving, I told him one way to say, people wanted to frustrate you out of this alliance, and you're just falling into their trap. And he was like, you know what, it's okay, let them win. Let them win, I'm going. Yeah, so to cut the long story short, because President, for example, Robert Chance had made it very clear from the onset, so you know what?
Yes.
UKA, if we want to have a chance, let's vote for President Harikalaba. Me also, I never said anything. Okay, I never said anything. But I think they just to say, I think even her, because you should realize that in Uka, almost everybody was my friend. I was close to everybody. I was close to President Sapiwa, I was close to President Silavwe, to President Kateka, President Harry Kalaba. So President Chance as well. So for me, even in terms of voting, it had nothing to do to say, I'm closer to this one than that one or this one. No. For me, it was like, okay, what criteria should we look for in terms of sellability, okay? In terms of resources, in terms of mobilization on the ground, organization, you get the point. Participation in political parties, international flair, who has it? Experience, all those things. Because sometimes even when the PF would hit us, they'd say, you people don't have experience and everything. Every time they would say that, when they wanted to touch Harikala, they would stop because this is a person that they were together with in their own cabinets.
Yes.
You know, so there'll be things there where you look at it and say, okay, amongst all of us, the reason why we are presidents of our own political parties is that because we want to be presidents of the country. But mango sipi pamozi, as the Zambians would say, mango does not get ripe at the same time.
That's right. That's right.
You all can't be president at the same time. And to be honest with you, that's what I came to realize was the biggest problem we had in Uka. Everybody wanted to be the president, and with that, you can't take an alliance anywhere else. And that is why, for me and President Robert Chancellor, we said, you know what? For us to step aside and let others stand. And even at that time, we're still trying to talk to our colleagues to say, don't you have faith and confidence in each other? Why should you all want to stand? No, and I remember President Kateka, most times I should even explain to say, no, the issue is that our members, they'll be very upset when they hear that we do not stand in the elections. It's better we stand and lose than not to stand at all. I was like, that explanation, but when people have their
I'm coming to that question. There is a notion that certain citizens are expressing, but two questions. Let's end with this. Let me play this, and then I want us, I want the audience, the nation, to know where do things stand. Let me play this.
Since we don't have a constitution and the rules and the laws in Uka, which to me is one of his biggest failures, he has failed to do that. And him and I have the same powers. As of today, I've expelled Sapiwa Scott. I've expelled him from Uka. Okay? I've expelled him. Yes, we have the same, and I have the same. We have the same powers. Yes. Because me, I could have said that you don't have a council of presidents. What? Him is in state council. Senior council in this country. So since he has expelled me using the same powers we have, I've also expelled.
Okay, it froze. The question, the reason I played that is, where do things stand? Have you met ever since that press conference? What is the way forward? Where do things stand?
No, we haven't met, and the way forward for now, I think people are too selfish. I will use those words in their exact way that they're supposed to be used. People are too selfish, too greedy, and want to be presidents of Uka and the country by all means and at all cost. So with that, you can't convince them otherwise. And for me also, I am strong on my point that we need to do the right thing for this country, even if it means it's not you to stand, you know. So right now, where we stand is that I will let them do what they want to do. Then later on, we shall see where this whole thing goes. Because at the end of the day, even if we were to meet now or reconcile whatever it is that we can do now, their ambition still to run the organization and the country at large is still going to put certain things in place which are not going to make us work together well, you know. Because for me, I still stand. I mentioned earlier on to say we're meeting with these other organizations like the SP, UNIP, Tonse, Uka, you know, the recently PAC by Andiford Mayara Banda joined us. You know, which other part, Economic Forum, there are maybe 2-3 other political parties which are supposed to come on board very soon. You know, people look very, very innocent until you say, let's choose. Okay. So for me, I've been telling the other group of political parties to say,
you are not interested in
we
standing.
went so much in Uka and so hard. Yes. Look at the times, you know, it's for me.
Oh my goodness. It's very interesting. People are very innocent until you say, let's stand there. Okay, our network has frozen. Let's wait for Ms. Kateka, to get her network going. All right, everybody, as we wait for her to come and conclude, next week, Saturday, we're premiering a new show. It will be mainly be handled by a young man, and the audience and his guests are also going to be young people. The idea is for us to engage the young people and to hear what they are thinking and how they look at things in general and how they want things to be done and to be run. All right, Miss Saboi. All right, Miss Saboi has dropped. I know she's going to log back in, but we shall bring her back and conclude this thing in a proper way. And let's see. Let us know your thoughts in the comment, what you think about our conversation or my conversation here with Miss Saboi Imboela. Our conversation was mainly, the theme was inside the UCA Council of Presidents. There's still a lot going on. You can tell from what she's saying. I've asked her, have they met since she made that statement of expelling Mr. Sakwiba Sikota. She says she's not leaving the alliance. She's still there. And let's see where things go from here. I'm sure she's going to log back in so that we conclude this thing in a nice way and hear what she has to say about everything else. Everybody, thanks for joining us, and please subscribe to our YouTube channel, ZBTR TV, and click on the bell so that when the show goes live, you'll be notified on your device that this show has gone live so that you don't miss any of our programs that we do have here and we are hosting. All right, Miss Saboi, we shall see and wait for a few minutes if she's going to come back, and we shall conclude this thing in a nice way. All right. Inside the UCA Council of Presidents, please let me know in the comments what you think about my conversation with Ms. Saboi Imboela, and whether you think UCA has got a future, whether you think UCA, is going to give us a flag bearer. Do you think that they still have this thing together where they can give a presidential candidate? Is there going to be one presidential candidate for all the alliances and all the parties? So that is what we are waiting for our leaders to do. Okay, so we shall wait for her to log back in, and then we will continue with this conversation.
Hello, Zambia Blog Talk Radio. My name is Muhambi Musanda, and I want to share with you some exciting news that is happening on Saturday, May 24th, 2025. On that date, we are going to be premiering Conversations with Muhambi here on Zambia Blog Talk Radio. We're going to be talking to fellow leaders who are making an impact, specifically young leaders who are making an impact in Zambia. I hope that you will support this new endeavor and that you will invite those who you think are our youth leaders in Zambia and outside Zambia to be featured on this new show, this new project. I'm grateful for you, and I'm looking forward to being in conversation with you in 2 weeks.
All right. I think our guest is back. Let's see if we can. All right. Where were you? Let's finish this. Let's finish this.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So at the end of the day, they say there are no permanent friends or enemies in politics, so people will fight, they'll reconcile and everything. And also for me, as a political scientist, I always say that there's no fusion without confusion. So a little bit of confusion here and there, people seem to be in disarray, but trust me, at some point, if people are genuine with what they want, if they are serious with the interests of the Zambians, there will come a time when they'll say, you know what, forget about the past, forget about this and that. Let's move in this direction. I used to say it between Tonse and Uka to say there will come a time. And even the time we'd meet, we'd even tell ourselves, there will come a time we shall work together. And trust me, I didn't even realize it would be so fast. I was thinking that maybe by June or by end of this year, alliances like Uka and Tonse will start working together and the others. But look at how fast it has happened, you know. But the sad part is that with that also happening, it has created other things and other things. Between now and the end of this year until 2026, trust me, there'll be a lot of things that will be happening. But if people are serious with the Zambians, and what it is that the Zambians should achieve. Number one, I don't want to see, or the Zambians should declare and demand that they should not see this thing of everybody wanting to be president at all costs. The Zambians should have a say in this. You know what? Yes, this thing of everybody. And I'm not trying to disrespect people, but there are people that just don't even have enough members. You get the point? NDC has got members across this country, across this country. Even in elections that we don't participate, you'll find that on the ground, NDC members will be there supporting the CF candidates. Is a CF normally participates in the by-elections.
Yes.
Yes, it was one that used to participate. NDC would be there, all provinces, whether it's northern, western, eastern, everywhere. NDC will be there. So you would see that this party really has members. And I remember President Slavo would even be the one who would be saying, but NDC has got members. You people have got a lot of members. And of course we do. What we just don't have now is our resources to put up candidates. But in terms of members, they are there. But the others, they even know that they don't have the members, but they want to be president. Because if you have failed to convince a few people, 3-4 Zambians to follow you, are you going to convince the entire country to vote for you? No, you won't. So let's be serious and look amongst ourselves. The opposition right now has got people that have been participating in by-elections, for example, mobilizing, and I don't want to campaign for anyone. But if you look at people, let's say President Fred Membe has been consistent on the ground. President Harry Kalaba has been very, very consistent on the ground and worked very hard. Tonse, they have members of parliament, they've got whatever, they are the immediate past ruling party. From that side, we should have a flag there. Okay? UKA lost an opportunity to present one amongst ourselves, but we can still present CF on the other side. So the opposition should come up with about 3-4 names, and from there now the Africans, or rather the Zambians.
The Zambians.
Like, you know what? Time for Zambia, time for Africa to arise,
I know, right? Like let me ask you this final question. And I got this, what I'm going to read from the UKA forum, because I'm in there. I'm in the UKA group. Yeah. So the UKA forum, this is one of the, I won't mention his name because I didn't get permission to do this, but all the UKA people in the forum, when they hear this, they recognize this. And it says, I quote, "Very disappointed with UKA leadership. Most of these should be contesting either as members of parliament or mayor or council chairpersons. The registrar of societies has earned people titles of president, just like, PACRA produces directors. So why don't you come up with a strategy of organizing yourselves to say, in South, I know the South African system is different from Zambia, but you have presidents in South African parliament who are members of parliament. Wouldn't it be nice to have all of you in UKA who are in parliament? You know what I'm trying to say? Exactly. This is what this gentleman is saying. Okay, just comment on that briefly and we shall conclude.
Okay, South Africa does have proportional representation, and I think I'm one of the strongest proponents of proportional representation in the country. I've been very consistent with that. If you look at the current constitutional amendments, which President HH is actually suggesting, proportional representation is amongst them. And to be honest with you, it's one of the best things. Too bad that with the constitutional amendments, they're bringing things very late. You get the point. Good things, but very late. Yes. When we form government, or whoever forms government in 2026, we should really change the constitution and bring in proportional representation. Because for me, apart from the issue of the women, youth, and persons with disabilities representation in our parliament, council chambers, and everything, there's an issue of power sharing, which is now legislated in the constitution itself. So for me, it's very, very important that when you have, for example, parties in parliament, their president also should be in parliament, the way it is here with proportional representation. So when you have 4 or 5 political parties in parliament, even their presidents will be there. Since you are a government, a political party in waiting, you are really there in parliament having all the experience that you can get. So definitely, it is a very good system. So you have experience from this side, experience from that side, from running your own political party, the parliamentary side of things. All those things are good for us, So for real, I agree with that person. Of course, it's a democracy. People who have political parties and they'll be called presidents, that's their right. You can't run away from that. But for me, it's just about having the heart to say, yes, I'm
11
a president of a
candidates.
party. Yes,
11
I deserve
candidates.
this. Yes. But do I really need to be on the ballot in 2026 to represent everybody as opposition to fight the current government? Let's be honest with ourselves. And also have a heart for the Zambians and do the right things for them. Some of us, some people even hate us for speaking the truth. But when it comes to the truth, I will never stop speaking and voicing out to say, this is wrong, this is right. If I am wrong, well and good. But the truth of the matter is that I say this with most sincerity, that we can do better as opposition leaders and not cry to be leaders at the same time, all of us. I always say that if I became president, I think I'd be one of the best presidents of this country. That I can assure you. But it's not my time. Maybe even God does never put it in his will and plans for me and the country that I'll never be president.
I think it's time for a woman president in Zambia. It's time for a woman president in Zambia. I agree.
It really is. It really is. You know, but we shall wait for God's time. God's time is the best.
We shall.
And if he says it's not me, well and good. I should not force it on people to say, no, I think it's this time and it's supposed to be me. You know, things don't work like that.
Wow. President Saboi Imboela, ladies and gentlemen, my dear sister, I want to say thank you for taking the time. And for those who may not know what was going on behind the scenes, she got stuck in traffic, everything that goes on in Lusaka, and she still made it, and we did this. Thank you so much, and I wish you all the best. We need to do a number 2. We need to do a part 2 of this. We need to do a part 2
Not a problem. Not a problem. I'm definitely available for that.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Have a great weekend.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And you too.
All right. All right, everyone. That was our show for today. We had President Saboi Imboela. She's the president of National Democratic Congress, also a member of the UCA Council of Presidents. Join us next Saturday. As we have been announcing, we are starting a new show addressing young leaders in the community. Thank you for tuning in, and we shall see you next week.
Zambia Blog Talk Radio.